As I've gone to get down on the shot, my hand that I was bridging with sort of touched the black, and I said to Jan, you know, Jan, see it, and I kind of owned up and said, look, I've just hit the black. I just assumed that it was an open table, or John would have the choice to put me back in and play the shot. It was a bit of a weird one, really.
Well, I asked Jan, I says, just put it back, and he says, no, I can't do that, because he's fouled. And then he says, oh yes, I can do it. But then Ronnie got up, he says, no, but I just fouled the black there. I didn't miss, I didn't go for a miss, and then he says, oh yeah, you're right, Ronnie. So it was a difficult one for Jan.
It's history now, I suppose, but I suppose you'll have to get your lawyers onto that and suss out the loopholes like you do.
If you were with us last night, you'll have seen a quite extraordinary semi-final between Ronnie O'Sullivan and John Higgins. We've discussed it a little bit earlier in the programme, but we did mention the man at the centre of the controversy in frame 13, referee Jan Verhaas. Well, he had a tricky call to make, and earlier today, Steve caught up with him to get his side of the story.
Well, I'm delighted to say I'm here with Jan Verhaas, who was at the centre of one of the most bizarre situations I've ever seen on the table. And in the studio, Jan, at the time, instinct said, you're either wrong or the rule's wrong. I'm delighted to say you weren't wrong, but the rule has come under some scrutiny in a strange situation. So Ronnie O'Sullivan had played 2 or 3 misses, and then all of a sudden he played a foul, a technical foul. Why no miss?
Well, because he made a foul whilst preparing for the shot, which means the shot hadn't been played, and the rule states that if a shot hasn't been played, a miss cannot be called.
So all of a sudden, John Higgins' options are?
Well, he's got 2 options. It's either to play himself from where the balls are, or to let Ronnie play from where the balls are, which means that Ronnie's on a red again.
Of course, John Higgins would have felt disadvantaged.
Well, yes, he probably was disadvantaged, without a doubt. But it's an anomaly in the rule that that needs to be readdressed.
Obviously, this occurs when a player is on a colour trying to escape after potting a red. The other way round wouldn't be a problem. The guy would just say, play again.
Correct.
But in the situation that John Higgins finds himself, coming to the table, if he put Ronnie O'Sullivan back into play again, it wouldn't be to play again on the colour. Ronnie O'Sullivan would be playing on the red.
He would be playing on the red, yes.
So would it be fair to say that the rule needs to be changed so that the player would
definitely
be having to play a colour still?
Definitely. I mean, there is a section 5 in the rule book, which covers the officials. There is a section which says that the referee is free to make a decision of fair play. And in hindsight, maybe I should have used that rule. But I didn't. I stuck by the letter of the law, basically.
But it would have been tough to have called a miss when it wasn't a miss. That would have been.
Well, I couldn't have called a miss.
No, so
because a stroke hasn't been played. But in hindsight, maybe because the sequence of the miss had already started, because I already called a few misses, he should have been put back to play on a collar again. But the rule doesn't really cover that, so that needs to be addressed.
Otherwise, players could accidentally make a technical foul.
There is a flaw in the rule which can get a player out of difficult situations, and that should be definitely readdressed.
It'll probably never happen again, though.
Well, hopefully it won't. But it's one of them situations where there's no winners, really.
I'm sure Jan would hope that it would never happen to him, certainly again, because it was controversial at the time, and for a while it looked like actually turning the match, or indeed certainly turning the situation in Ronnie's favour. However, as it was, John came through. Now that we've discovered there is a loophole in this particular law, what can happen? How do we solve this in snooker, John?
Well, we're talking to Steve about it before, and sometimes a law like this is actually more difficult to implement, isn't it? You're having a good chat with Jan as well, off air there as well. And it's actually difficult to stick it in the rule book. The one thing to say is I've been playing snooker since I was 12 years of age, and I'm sure Steve started around about that, and I have never, ever seen that situation arise. And OK, it may very well be a loophole in there, but will you ever see it again? This is just an absolutely amazing situation.
But it is open to abuse, clearly, and now that we do, I'm not suggesting anyone for a minute would do it, but it could be done, couldn't it?
Yes, and there will be a rules committee meeting, and they will make sure that that can't happen once they're satisfied that the rule they put in place, wording wise, cannot be sort of open to sort of not abuse but misinterpretation by other countries around the world, and to get it as clear cut as possible. But don't jump at the chance to do it, because you may make a bad rule. So the referees will all get together and they will work out how best to word it.